Guru Nation, welcome back to another episode. This one's a very special. I've been waiting a long time for this one, guys. All right, because you guys been writing this book. So we have Monica Paula Quitiva and Paula Botero, no relation, right? Um, they wrote a book, and the link is underneath the description. It's a book on literally the title, all you need to know about screening patients in clinical research, right? Like this is just, I could tell, and we'll get into your thought process. This is one of many books to come, but the link is underneath the video. And if you're listening on the podcast, thank you. Click, use your finger, and then you buy it. Use your Face ID or your finger, however you prefer. Just get it. You guys will not be disappointed. I think, like, for myself, well, first of all, I would like the paperback. As of this video, the Kindle, but maybe by the time you're watching or listening, is paperback in there as well. I would get both, right? Kindle and paperback, to have a copy at the office. Because this is like, if you're a site owner or if you're a new coordinator, you need to have this. Even if you're a sponsor CRO, a lot of these sponsors, they have no idea what it takes to screen a patient. They think it's just, and then we have Paula, so she works for a sponsor. We're not going to disclose who. We can get into this too, but anyways, link underneath. Thank you guys, both of you, for coming on. How are you guys doing? Monica and Paula, how are you guys doing? And Paula, why have we not seen you on Latinos in Clinical Research? Unacceptable.
You will. Once we release the Spanish version of this book.
Oh my God, it's another year. Oh, we gotta wait 2023.
We didn't know that write a book is like quite complicated, because you need to review and review and review again, because you wanna really make sure that all the information is accurate and the people will use it in the best way, and more if it's a screening process.
Yeah.
So that's why it takes like some time.
How long did it take you guys to write this thing?
I think a year and a half.
A year and a half. Wow. But people don't understand. People don't understand the process. Like, explain what was your process? Because me and Chris had our own process. It's not elegant at all, but what's your process?
Yeah, well, first of all, Dan, thank you for bringing us here to talk about our book.
Thank you, guys. Everyone go buy it.
Yeah, so when we started, we decided in some point that we wanted to write a book or to do something to share information, because back then Paola finished the CRC Academy, and she was doing the internship at the clinic. So when she was doing with us some screening visits. She did with us regulatory.
I remember.
Yeah, she did it all.
Yeah.
And in fact, she helped us to improve some processes. That's actually her biggest strength.
What were you doing before research, Paula? I forgot. But I remember you working with us at Global over there, interning, volunteering. What were you doing before research?
So I was working in Colombia because I moved to US 5 years ago. So okay. I was working in Colombia, but as in a marketing research, was no clinical research. So I was managing all the operations for one of the biggest marketing research that we make in Colombia for to collect data, but for Heineken, Coca-Cola, all those big companies.
I love Heineken.
Yes.
I remember now. That's good.
So we were collecting all the data from the marketplaces, all those business, to sell that data to Coca-Cola, Heineken, all those big companies, to make the marketing strategies. So, but once I moved to US, I started my career like a CRC in the CRC Academy, and then starting to work more in sites. And yes, there is where we start like thinking with Monica, let's create like a book that it's more specific in each area that you're going to be working in the clinical research, because through the project it's a long process and a lot of stuff you need to know.
I
So
remember when
like,
you guys were thinking, like, when did you get the idea to write this book? Like, when did the idea form?
I think it was because when Paola was working there, and then she found a job doing. She found a job being a clinical research coordinator, and she was doing the process herself. Then we start talking. Let's do a book to give people help. I mean, like the structure idea on how to do these critical processes, because you can miss a lot of information.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait,
and it's
Paula,
important.
did you work at the, before the sponsor, you worked as a coordinator at the site that I know?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, how was that?
Um it's different, but it's a lot of stuff you can learn and a lot of things that you can improve. So because as Monica mentioned, I like to improve like processes and see how you can make things better. So I found that interesting, and it's nice to learn how to, because that was one of my first steps in clinical research also. So it was good to me to just start like applying all the knowledge that I got in the clinical
Yeah.
in the CRC Academy, and so was really nice. And I think from there started all the idea to create more like guidebooks that will help us to just improve each process and to know more in deep what we can do and maybe what we are missing to through screening the visits and everything, because sometimes you are like, oh, you know that you can do this and can improve this part of the process, and you're like, oh, maybe I didn't know that, and that is good information that I can start applying in my side. So we were like, okay, that information we can put everything in a book or in a guide for the sites to just learn how to improve the process. So that's why.
So
Brilliant.
initially it was also because it was gonna help us, but then if we were going to do it like that, we say yes, let's do it in a book and share it with everybody else.
That's the best thing. When you're doing something for yourself and then you realize, well, there's probably others that have would like this same thing. Let's just make it a book. Like that's what we did with the comprehensive guide to research. You know, we initially wanted to make it like a manual for future employees. Like this is how you get trained. And then we're like, why don't we just make it like a full book about, I did a lot of mini books. Why don't we just make it a full book? Everybody's looking for this. So why did you choose because the book's called All You Need to Know About Screening Patients in Clinical Research, How to Make an Effective Screening Process. Why did you choose this topic first? That's kind of the complicated topic.
That's why, because it's complicated. Because I think because most of the clinical research coordinators or the sites have probably a little bit of difficulty or challenge with the screening process, right? Even if you have experience, oftentimes you can miss really small details, and when you have a new staff members, if you have a guide, it's easier to make sure that they are doing the things correctly, rather than being observing them. And if you obviously you know this, with every single study, every single time that you have a new study, the first patient is the most challenging, because
Oh
you
yeah,
don't
I
want to
know.
miss anything, right? So that's why we wrote all the basic and all the important things that you need to go through with every single patient in every single study.
You know what? I screened a patient yesterday and we couldn't do it. We couldn't do the actual screening because we were missing some like tubes. There was like a tube that they never sent us. And was talking to my NP, my business partner, Jaime, who I need to introduce you guys. He's awesome. He's a nurse practitioner, and I was like, yeah, we basically did a practice but I'm glad we did because we would have made mistakes if it was a real screening. First of all, I had the wrong kit because they're two protocols of the same sponsor. So I grabbed the wrong kit for screening and I
Oh,
didn't realize till later. So like the process, it's good to practice, especially if you have like a first screening for a new study. to practice with somebody, like a dress rehearsal before you actually do the real one, because we were able to find all the forms. We couldn't find anything, and so we were not prepared. But we would have still done it, but it would have been like a few mistakes. So
Yeah.
now we're ready for the real thing tomorrow. We got it tomorrow, so we'll be good tomorrow. But that's an example, like, of what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this, sorry, go ahead, Paola.
No, go ahead, Bonnie.
I was going to explain that we start the book with the pre-screening because the pre-screening is also very important. Sometimes we get patients referred by the principal investigator or by, let's say, by the central campaign or by somebody, right? Or our own advertisement. And but in reality, those referrals are not yet ready to be screened, right? So we start by explaining why it's so important to do the pre-screening, even if it comes from a warm referral from the sponsor, because oftentimes these pre-screenings miss a specific or very important information that could be a deal breaker when you're screening a patient.
Yeah.
So we'll start with that process, and then from there we go over every single detail, including the laboratories.
There's a lot of like things like that, examples of real world screenings. Like, let's talk about screening because that's what the book's about. And there's nuances too. Like, one of the things in Latinos in clinical research we can discuss is the cultural differences. So we have a patient at my new clinic that I'm talking about who he's a Mexican guy. He's older, and he knows he's a warm lead. He's a warm referral because he's from the doctor office that we're in. All right, but he's more comfortable dealing with females because in the Mexican culture, I don't know how it is in Colombia, but like the guys, especially the older guys, they don't trust like a male coordinator, for example, but they trust female coordinator, and so we ran into this with the NP. He's a male, but the guy's more comfortable with the women coordinators. So he went back to go home to read the consent, and hopefully he comes back. But like stuff like that, right? What were you gonna say, Paula?
I think that in general, the patients, I found out in my experience, they feel more comfortable sometimes with women. I don't
Yeah,
know
you see?
if it's like the figure of the women that you can trust. The women is taking care of that
Yeah,
person, and it's like that warm receive that the man or any person will have in any screening visit.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my wife said, and she's the one who pre-screened him on the phone, and he was all interested. And then she wasn't there when he came. It was me and Jaime, and then so now she says she's gonna call him again, and she'll be there the next time he comes. It's so that's I hope that's gonna help. But there's always like little things like this that nobody talks about.
I think that is one of the nice things about this book because we try to bring some actual examples and some practical information because you know that some is the theory that you know that okay, this is the first, second, and third step that you need to do, but in real life, what you're going to encounter. So, whatever is the question or specific question you need to ask, or maybe some examples about things that may happen in real life in sites. So we try to apply that knowledge and that live examples, and you will find those in the book. So that is very interesting.
That's actually true. We put some examples that says the most common mistakes that people do when they are doing a screening and how to correct them, obviously, right? But for example, now that you were mentioning the screening, sometimes let's say the screening involves, let's say, a laboratory, right? And then you say, well, the laboratory, you will get the results in maybe a week. and then you probably leave it by the end
Yeah.
of the screening, and then surprise, the weather change and there is a storm, and then the laboratories got lost, or the laboratories got frozen, and they couldn't be the results couldn't be get right. So then you're gonna be in trouble, because you're not gonna get the results on time because you left it for the end. And then additional to that, the window period is going to be ending, and that way then the patient probably is going to be a screen failure if the sponsor don't allow you to have an extension, or oftentimes they don't even allow you to rescreen this patient, so you lose a lead.
Or even a patient, maybe a sponsor says it's okay or it's not out of window, but the patient doesn't want to come again for another blood draw, which is common also. I mean, so yeah, there's a lot of things people don't talk about, like all these organizations, I'm not going to name them, but the big organizations in our industry, they just say the same things over and over. Informed consent is for patient centricity and all that stuff, but when you're actually doing a screening and you're a coordinator, you care about this kind of stuff that you're talking about, right? You don't care about the theory. You already know this. You care about, like, a big one for me is the air bill. If you don't have the air bill for FedEx or whatever it is that you're shipping the lab to, what are you going to do? I mean, let's say you did everything and you can't find the air bill, that's a big problem. So little things like that people don't think about.
Yeah, that actually happened to me too.
I know.
And yeah, so now what we receive those air bills is we just scan them and save it in the files, so that way in the case it get lost or something, we already have all the information needed.
I have a study where they have, for the same study, 3 different air bills based on what lab it is. So you could make the mistake, ship it to use the wrong air bill.
Oh, wow.
Organization is the key in clinical research. So
yeah,
you gotta keep everything organized. Also, we bring some like little notes about how to manage that part.
The checklist.
Yeah, checklist will help. I think I just need to hire somebody fast. But so this book, when did you release it? Did anyone read it?
Oh, I mean, we sent it for edition, and we read
but did
it.
You give this to like your student, CRC Academy, or I know you teach this all the time, anyways, in CRC Academy. But did somebody read this yet? I know it's new. I didn't read it.
Raul did.
Okay. What did he say? Because he has a site, right? He has a site.
Yeah. And at the beginning, when we did it the first time, before we start doing so many corrections, he gave us a feedback, and his feedback was that he liked it because it was in words, or in it was described in everybody's words, so it's not like very technical. So everybody will be able to understand it, if it's the first time you're doing this process, or if you're new doing research, or you're a new coordinator, or you're a new site owner. You will understand the words that everything is being explained.
I like that it's short enough to where if you give it to a staff member, they're actually gonna read it. They can read it in one day, and they can read it in an hour, I'm guessing, or 2 hours.
They can actually use it every time they have a screening, or even the first time, because it has every single process, every single thing. So it's gonna be helpful not just the first time that they read it, but every time they do a screening.
Yeah.
Because we go over every single process, starting, like I say, pre-screening. Then we go why it's important to do this, and why the screening is so important, and they need to pay so much attention to detail in this process. Then we go and explain the inclusion and exclusion criteria. why is this important? Also, why then we start with the form of consent form process and every single thing that you need to do, like concomitant medication, prohibit medications, um,
Schedule of events, the
eh, hmm,
All that stuff.
what is a window period, why the schedule of events is important, and make sure that you complete all the process during that window period, including the results. um, I mean, it's every single detail, every single step.
Well, we
um,
like it. This is what we need. Like, I don't need this because I know how to screen, but for my employees, I was even telling you when you were writing this, like, I can't wait to buy it because it's small enough to where I can give it to an employee and say, "Look, read this. This is how prepare on this," right? And it's written by someone else that's not me that you can trust from somebody else if you don't want to hear from me all the time. Like, this is going to be required training for new staff is to read this and any other future books you put out that are like bite-sized actionable. Paula, you work for a sponsor, right? We
Mhm.
won't name who, but what do sponsors and patient relationship is very strange because from what I see on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn a lot and I see people that work at sponsor or people that work at like tech companies. They they have this idealistic sense of patients love this or patients we have to care about patients because they say like obvious things, but I feel like they don't understand like the nuances of what it takes to actually screen a patient, keep a patient happy. This is why we're going to do the clinical research patient recruitment academy. But you work right now at a sponsor and you have the benefit of working at a site. But what is the sponsor attitude in regards to patients? Are they clueless? Do they know what's happening?
Um, from my point of view, I got so lucky to work in a sponsor that really care about the patients. Because when I was working in a site, that was not my perspective, as you said.
Mm,
So I don't know if it's different for pharmaceutical research or device research. Because in device research is like quite of different, I think, from my point of
Yeah.
view. So from my experience when I was in a site, I was thinking like, well, maybe these sponsors are just wanted to get patients, and maybe the process was different and was like more need to go in deep of see what is the patient's needs and whatever was the case at that moment. But on my case now, I feel like the structure that when you work in a company or on a sponsor that is so specialized in one single thing that
Mm,
they need to do, and they just focus in doing that very good, is because they care a lot about that experience, about that patient, about what is the like final experience of the patients. Actually, they we do that something at the company if it's anyone around the world, that a friend or someone that you hear from us or from the company that I'm working, you need to report that. You need to let know how is the patient feeling, how was the experience, is something that you can improve, is something you can like do in whatever way for the patient to feel more comfortable with us, is some experience that is really like making me change the point of view of a sponsor and how we care about the patients. um, but I think that that could depend of what sponsor it is. But yes, so
hmm. I like that answer. I was going to ask you more, but you actually answer with details. So I can tell that that's probably true with your sponsor. And it makes sense because they're focused on one
One
specific
single
thing.
thing.
So they
Yes,
know the customer very well.
very, 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 very well. And actually, every single thing that is said in the company goes at the end for the patient and is about quality, about everything. So you see in every single like area, in every single step as you do is related to the final like goal that you have as sponsor is provide
Hmm.
something of not a good quality. No, it's the best thing that you can provide. It's not just screening and doing what you think that will be good just for like a sale or something like that. Because I know some pharmaceutical companies do things for a lot of different stuff. So, for example, one do this for the liver, the other one do this for the kidneys, and this is like jumping in a lot of different things, so that maybe doesn't mm, have you room to just improve something in a really specific way and care about that patient in that particular way, that you know that all your efforts goes in that direction and you will not lose track on other stuff that you are like maybe missing because you are just
Too
jumping
big,
around.
too big.
Mhm.
I like maybe the best sponsors then are the ones that focus just on one niche. But at your sponsor, do you guys talk about patient centricity or decentralized trials? Are you guys talking about this kind of stuff, or is it just I'm seeing on LinkedIn as like a bunch of noise?
I don't know the answer to that questions. To that question. I
Yeah.
don't know how
See, I
to.
don't think these things are actually discussed in like real life. I think they're just discussed at conferences and on LinkedIn. That's my theory, but I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Mm.
Makes you wonder. All you need to know about
Yeah.
screening patients in clinical research. Monica, you made a good one. You made a good book.
Oh, thank you.
So anything
Thank
you want
you.
to wrap up? I haven't. I say you made a good one because you told me a lot about it. I don't need to read it, but I will get it. But I'm gonna get the paperback too, like I told you guys, because when that's available, you want to have something to hand to your staff, but also the Kindle is like very convenient to have on your phone or on your iPad. So it's good to have both. I know a lot of people that get our book, Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research. It's both. They have Kindle and are you guys gonna do an audiobook?
We were talking about it probably,
You
but the
could do it
thing
in like
is,
an hour or two.
yeah, but the thing is, this book, you will want to make sure that you're. I mean, I see this book like I get, like, for example, a clinical research coordinator that is doing this and has the patient right there. So the clinical research coordinator is making sure that he or she completed every single step. This can
Okay.
even help to create a checklist because now you know exactly what you have to do as the essentials and then add everything else that you need to do for that specific study. So I mean,
Okay.
I'm not sure if the audiobook for this specific book will be um, of good use.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I'm not sure.
No,
Maybe
maybe not
we
then.
should
Yeah.
try.
No, maybe not because if it's meant to be a manual, like a field manual, it's probably just meant to be read like on the site for the same reason I'm gonna buy it as soon as I have my first coordinator. Like they're gonna read this. They're gonna be forced to read this. And I hope you guys write more because we need more uh like bite-sized things, right?
Yeah, critical processes, very important.
Anything else you guys want to add as we wrap up? A link underneath the show notes, underneath the video. Go buy it. Buy the book.
Yeah.
Ah, I think it was a great experience. I never knew how much time or how time consuming is to write a book, and and obviously because you think you're just gonna go and write and that's it, 46 pages, 50 pages, and we never knew how long it was gonna take. We actually thought it was gonna be ready like in a month, 2 months, and a lot more, because every time we were reading it, going over it, then we will change and change it and change it and change it, and I'm sure there's gonna be more changes.
Yes.
Well, that's the good thing about Kindle and paperback. You can update it. You know, you can update the files. All right, good stuff. Well, Paula, we gotta see you on Latinos in Clinical Research
Yeah.
soon, and then Monica, you're always there, and then we'll definitely discuss this book more. Like we're looking to do um part 2 and part 3, not only when you write other books, but when you get feedback from sites or coordinators about, you know, maybe implementing what you wrote about.
Yeah, and yeah, of course, we would love to hear everybody's feedback about it. Uh, it is I think like we wrote on in the book, sharing information will only improve the industry,
Yeah.
and this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I think even sponsors and CROs, like I said, it would benefit from this too, because it's quick, actionable, and then sites, of course, and also people looking to get hired, like for interviews.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're somebody that's hasn't been a coordinator, but you want to be a coordinator, and you read this book, and then you go get an interview, and they ask you, and you say, "Well, you know, I know this." You come with your checklist that you already made from reading the book. You get a job right there. That's like a dream come true. So go get it, guys. Underneath, reach out to Monica. She's very accessible. Paula, I don't know if she's accessible or not, honestly.
Invite Monica.
Yeah, reach out to Monica. Reach out to
Yeah,
Monica double.
yeah, LinkedIn, YouTube,
Yeah, Monica's everywhere.
and everywhere.
All right. So check it out, guys. Let me know what you guys think about it. We'll have you guys on again for sure. And catch y'all later. Bye bye.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you, Dan.
Monica.